Hi, Sean.
Hi, Jono.
Yeah. So where are you right now and what do you teach?
Okay, I'm on the island of Shikoku, which is one of Japan's main four islands, in a place called Kochi. And it's one of the less populated prefectures, and Shikoku is one of the less populated of the main islands. But we're right down in the south of Japan, and I'm teaching at Kochi University, which is a national university of about 5,000 students. It's a very
Okay.
rural area.
Okay. And so in your teaching context right now, what are some of the challenges that you're facing?
Okay, well, I think one of the greatest challenges that teachers who are involved with a communicative class face in Japan is getting students up and speaking. Up until high school, there's a very teacher-centered approach to learning here. And so in classes like English conversation classes, or not so much this presentation class that I teach, but getting students to ask questions, to communicate in a group when you're doing group work, things like that. Taking the initiative to communicate is often difficult. You can't just throw out a question and say, okay, discuss this. It's got to be a bit more structured. So that's one of the challenges that I face, yes.
Getting students to talk and contribute. Yeah, I think
Right.
probably a lot of teachers, that would resonate with a lot of teachers.
I imagine, yes.
Yeah. So you've written for MET a few times now, I think.
Right.
And so what is it that you like about MET and as a vehicle for your ideas?
Okay, well, initially as a reader, I enjoyed MET because there were a lot of practical ideas, things that I could use in my class, even if not using it exactly the same as the way it was written up, getting ideas. I'm very practical. I very much like the practical side of teaching rather than the theoretical. And I find that there's plenty of articles in MET that are like that. And I guess my style of writing is very much like that too. They're practical teaching ideas that can be used partly or fully. And the themes that are in MET have been very relevant to the kind of teaching that I do. So that's why I enjoyed reading it and then writing for MET.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And so if we move on now to your current article, and so you've written about the importance of presentation skills and using TED Talks as a model for doing it. What would you hope that readers would take from it as a one or two key ideas?
Okay, well, really the article is a whole series of small techniques and ideas that can be used in a presentation that are specifically used in TED Talks. And I guess I would like readers to use a few of those in their classes if they're teaching presentation. I use the analogy of a presentation being like a song, in that it has content and structure and small techniques to make it interesting. And I think these small techniques that I write about in this article are like that, in that they can make a presentation, just give it a little bit more oomph than it might have had if for example, instead of getting up and introducing yourself and hello, my name's Sean Burgoine, I teach at Kochi University, getting up there and using one of the hooks that I use, getting up there and telling a short story that then becomes relevant in the presentation, or audience participation in some way, asking a question, getting people to put up their hands just to grab an audience. So I'd like that to be used, I guess, those little techniques.
Yeah, and you make that point as well, that it is increasingly important, in work, in academia as well, that people can get up and talk naturally. And then you make another point as well, around the importance of rehearsal. And you talk about how in TED Talks, people rehearse for months to get a good presentation. And that's something I think maybe, a lot of teachers think that it should be off the cuff, it should be natural. Could you speak about that just for a moment?
Yeah, sure. I stress that to my students, the importance of rehearsal. That might come from a short documentary I saw on how rigorous the rehearsals are for TED, but it also comes from my experience as a musician too. I think you would never get up and on stage without rehearsing, and you shouldn't for a presentation either. You should have run through it at home. You can do it in front of a mirror, or you can just time yourself doing it. It's something I've seen time and time again. Students they come across a word they can't pronounce, but if they'd rehearsed it, they would have come across it when they were rehearsing and then sorted that out. I think it gives you greater confidence if you've done it before within your 5-minute time period, and you could nail it. You could nail it in your bedroom, so you feel more confident going out there and getting up in front of a class, or if it's online, as it often is these days. I think the confidence that rehearsal gives you is really important also.
Yeah, good. If I could just go back to a conversation we were having off air a little bit earlier. You were talking about sort of turn taking in Japan, and you had an analogy between sort of a 10-pin bowling style of talking in Japan, maybe in a sort of, as opposed to a tennis playing style. Right. Could you describe that?
Sure. It was something that I heard at a conference. The speaker was talking about the different styles that are associated with different cultures, different styles of communication. And Japan is considered to be a turn-taking style, where one person bowls their ball, the next person bowls their ball. And you really do see it in life here. At a meeting, everyone begins with a short self-introduction. This person does it, the next person does it. Whereas we in the West are more like tennis players, where we hit the ball to the other person hits it back. There's this back and forth thing happening. And then the other extreme is the cultures that are considered the rugby players, who are basically tackling each other to get control of the conversation.
Competing for a turn.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting analogy.
Interesting. And so one final question, just to wrap things up. What's something that you're really passionate about? Something that makes you tick?
Okay. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a musician and a self-taught musician. And I guess my continued activity with music, I still perform, I still write music, is something that makes me tick. But I see a close correlation between my music and my teaching, because language learning is also very much like learning an instrument or learning music. So I'm fortunate in that I have a passion that really has some connection with what I do for a profession, which is guiding people to become better communicators. It's very similar to how you would guide someone to be a better musician. So I guess my passion is my music, I would say.
Yeah, right. Okay. Listen, been really nice talking to you, Sean.
You too, John.
Thank you. And I look forward to your future contributions to MET.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.